is Beth Ann Weber. Today I'm going to talk with you about how to do an American Girl eye swab. First we want to talk about why you would want to do an eye swab. And first, probably because you want to create a doll that American Girl does not make. In my case, I want to create a Josefina with dark blue eyes from Kit. But this doll isn't available from American Girl, so I am going to swap eyes to make her. But maybe you have a doll where the eyes are not working correctly. Maybe the eyelashes are retracted, or the eye is sticking open or closed, and you want to try to fix it yourself. So before you start with an eye swap, I want you to consider if you really want to do this, because there are risks. You can risk damaging the doll. The final can become misshapen from too much heat. You can scratch off the eyelid paints or scratch the surface of the eye. You could melt an eye. You could damage the doll's eye socket by puncturing through it, or even cutting through the edge of the outside doll eye socket. Probably most of all, you need to consider the fact that the doll hospital may not service your doll once you try to customize it. Though I do know of several dolls who were serviced when sent with their damaged eyes, the doll hospital does have written on their form a disclaimer that they reserve the right to refuse to serve a customized doll. So if you've considered all of those aspects and still decide that you want to do an eye swap, what you need are two dolls. Your donor doll with the eyes that you want to use, and the doll you are customizing. Or you can buy a set of American Girl eyes from the secondary market, but they must be American Girl eyes. You'll pay about $30 to $45 currently for a set of eyes on the secondary market. And then you need to understand the process. You are going to be heating the vinyl of your doll so that it's pliable enough that you can push the eyes out through these socket holes. And then you're going to reheat the head a second time so that you can push eyes in these holes. So what do you need tool-wise to take eyes out, because that's your first step. We're going to take eyes out of this doll. What I use is a large measuring cup. I'm going to put my head in this upside down, and it holds the head snugly. You need some towels, some to wrap the head with, some to protect your hands with. You need a funnel to aid in pouring the water in. And you need a tool that is going to fit inside this head that is stiff enough to push against the back of these eyes and push them out. In my case, I use a silicone spatula that has a metal core to the handle. Another tool I sometimes use is a very heavy old metal spoon. Some people use wooden spoons, but the handles have been known to break over time, so just know that if you're going to use a wooden spoon. You also are going to need a small pot, hot water, and a timer. Now, to get the head ready, it has to be removed from the body, which I have already done. You want to be familiar with the inside of your doll's head. You want to look in there and see where those sockets are. If your doll's ears are pierced, mine are not, but if her ears are pierced, make sure the earrings are in, or you will have water coming out the earring holes. And if you are going to change the wig on your doll, go ahead and remove it now so that there's no damage to the wig during the eye swab. If you're going to use the same head of hair, just be careful when you wrap it and when you pour the water to protect the wig. So we're going to wrap this doll's head and place it in the cup. I've left a tail here so I can insulate from the top once I'm done. I'm going to put the funnel in. And now my doll head is ready. So I'm going to get the hot water needed and I'm going to pour it into the head. I'm going to carefully pour, watching as I do it to make sure I don't overflow the head, but I want to come to the top of the neck. And then for this doll, it's a fairly pliable vinyl doll, so I'm going to set the timer for 7 minutes and insulate from the top. Now I mentioned the doll being pliable, and that is something you want to figure out before you start with your swap. Does your doll have hard vinyl? Or is it a difficult mold to do an eye swap on? There are 2 molds that are trickier than others. The number 4 retired Asian mold is tricky when adjusting the eyes at the end. The most difficult mold to do is a Jess or Ivy because the eye socket is small. If you have a difficult mold, you're going to want to up the time that the water is in the head. You will also want to up the time if the vinyl is hard. Now the way I decide a doll has hard vinyl is I will squeeze it at its temples, and with this doll, when I squeeze, you can see that its head squeezes nice and easily. This is a very soft vinyl doll. It happens to be a very early Pleasant Company doll. It was a Molly. Now Josefina happens to be a transitional doll, transitioning from when Mattel purchased the company from Pleasant Company, and they changed the vinyl they were using, and when I squeeze Josefina's head, it barely gives at all. She has very hard vinyl. So I've been experimenting with times that the water can be in the head. We don't want to melt the eyes. That's always a concern. So at this point, I have been able to go up to 12 minutes with boiling water inside a hard vinyl head or a difficult mold and not damage the eyes. For a soft vinyl doll, I only needed to do 5 to 7 minutes. So at this point, we're just going to wait for the timer to go off. Okay, my timer just went off. So I'm going to unwrap the doll. I'm going to be careful, the doll's head can be very hot at this point. I'm going to pour the water back out into my pot so I can reuse it. And at this point, the doll is very pliable. Okay? So, to get these eyes out, I'm going to use my towel. I'm going to pull back on the forehead while I am pushing the eyes out from the inside. Okay? There went one. And there went the other. That was a very simple eye removal. I'm going to take them apart just to let the heat out. And we're going to inspect the eyes. Now, an American Girl doll eye has 3 parts. There is the plastic cup. It is sometimes black, sometimes white. I've even seen someone post a purple. If your eye is sticking, you want to feel across the bottom of your plastic cup to make sure it's flat. If it is indented to the inside, the eye can catch on that and stick closed or stick open. In that case, you have to replace this cup. The cup has slots in the side. Don't know if you can see those. Those slots hold the eye, the actual eye. Comes with tiny little pegs, and sometimes these pegs will pop out of those slots and the eye will be stuck. They even break off. So you always want to check and make sure the pegs are in good condition, that they're not bent. You want to turn the eye around, and you want to look at the weight. Often an eye problem can be caused by a weight that is loose or unglued. You can re-glue those in place with super glue. Another eye problem might be that the lashes seem cut or missing, but really what happens is those lashes have retracted back into the eye. The glue that is inside this little eye has dissolved over the years, and the lashes have just slid back in. So you can just pull those back through, and with a drop of super glue, reset the lashes. Now, sometimes your eye has melted. Either someone before you kept the doll in a high heat, or you, when you just popped them out, maybe left your water boiling too long, or you left the time to go too long. And what a melted eye looks like is that this top lid is no longer the top of a nice perfect circle, but it is squashed down somewhat flat. And that's a melted eye, and it will not move in its casing correctly and is ruined. Though you may want to save it for the sake of the weight and the lashes and its casing and cup. The last part of an eye is its metal casing, and that is what sits on the top of the eye. And it's the part of the eye that when we go to put this back in, we'll use this part to adjust. When you take an eye out, you always want to check the pieces, that see if they're gummy or dirty and need cleaned. This is the time to do that. And once they're all ready for the next doll, you just put that eye back together. You look at the cup, and there's a little ledge on the inside. You want to make sure that ledge is at the top. You pick up the actual eye, put its pegs in the slot, and then you take the metal casing. It is flattened on the top and bottom, so that helps you place it. You put it over top, push it on, and you have an eye ready for an eye swap. So now we're going to talk about inserting new eyes. And the first thing you want to do is you want to let your doll's head cool. If you're inserting eyes back into the one you just popped eyes out of, you just want to give it some time to rest. The vinyl can get misshapen if it's overheated and then held in an odd position while it's overheated. It will cool and stay in that position. So just for the sake of the vinyl, let it cool down. Now, one thing I want to show you, if you have had leaking water in your cup, we talked about the earrings. Josefina has earrings, hers are in. But if there's still leaking water and there's no earring involved, or you do have earrings in, you need to pull the wig on your doll and check its head. There are some dolls that have this hole, and it always surprises us because if we've left the wig on, we don't know it's there, and then our bowl or cup is filling with water. So you need to pull the wig, see if there's a hole, and then plug it with clay and restart. So now we're ready to insert eyes. I'm going to stop the camera so that I can set up for that, and I'll show you how to do it. Okay, let's talk through what we're going to need to insert eyes. Again, we're going to need that large measuring cup or bowl to insert the head in, the towels to wrap the head in, We're going to need a funnel to pour the water in with. And this time we're also going to need a hair dryer to apply heat externally to the eye socket. We're going to need some little tools to help to adjust the eye once it's in the eye socket, such as a tweezer or some nail daughters. A little spoon cuticle tool could come in handy. People have used a barbecue skewer, just something small that you're going to be able to work on the surface of that metal casing to turn the eye. You're going to want the eyes that you're putting in your doll. You want to set them vertically to make sure they open, set them horizontally to make sure they close, because if you've put the eyes in upside down, you certainly don't want to insert them in your doll and find out they do not work. And then in the case of Josefina, I also need to plug that hole in her head. So I'm just using a little bit of Sculpey clay. I just pinch off a teeny bit and I roll a little snake. I'm going to stuff it down in that hole. And plug it up. And that will be perfect. She will not leak now. So I hear my water boiling. I'm going to wrap Josefina in her towel. Put her in upside down. And put the funnel in. And go grab my water. I'm going to pour it in, but carefully watching that I only go up to the neck and don't overflow it. Then I'm going to set the timer. Now Josefina has very hard vinyl. She's a difficult doll. So I'm going to set the timer for 15 minutes. She has no eyes in her head. So at this point, if you're dealing with hard vinyl or a difficult mold, don't be afraid of using a lot of time to get that head soft. I'm going to set the timer for 15 minutes and then we'll be back. Now while Josefina is getting heated up, I want to talk through what we're going to do to insert eyes because this goes so fast and you might not be able to see it. So when you have a heated doll, of course you're going to use towels to protect your hand. It's going to be very hot. You're going to be pulling back on their forehead as you are pushing the eye into the eye socket. To push the eye in, you want to line this eye up so that it is standing vertically in the eye socket. The bottom of the socket, the bottom of the eye is pointing down into the socket rather, and the lashes are pointing toward the chin. When you push, push with your thumb, but push only on the metal socket and the plastic cup, preferably more the metal socket because you don't want to press so hard here these pop apart. Don't ever press on the lashes or the eye itself. You will damage the lash, and you can push the eye posts out of their slots, and then you'll just have to pop the eye back out and hope you didn't damage it. So we're going to line that up. We're going to make sure the lashes are centered as best we can. That will help us to have less adjusting once the eye's in. So we will push straight down, be pulling back on the forehead. Once the eye socket has started to go in that hole, then we will adjust our pushing more back so that the eye will flip and be looking up. Okay, so I think that covers about everything I will be doing, and hopefully you can catch it as I do it. It will go quick. Okay, so the the timer just went off. I'm going to unwrap Josefina. I have her eyes here ready to go. I have my tools ready to go. Let's hope it goes well. I'm going to pull back on her forehead. You'll probably see the whole head collapse. That's going to be okay. I just keep pushing. It went in. And now I push the casing back. And I adjust. I'm going to pull back eyelashes and the eyelid so I can see metal casing and not accidentally apply pressure on that eyelid or eye. And this sometimes can take a little while to get it right. You're always pushing on the casing, not on the eye itself. Okay, what you're wanting to look for is an eye where the lid is straight across horizontally, and when you open the eye, the whites are fairly even around the iris. So I've got one in. Now she's a difficult mold. I can tell you right now that I'm not going to get a second eye in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that blow dryer. I'm going to put my eye back together. I'm going to protect the eye I have in so that I don't melt it. And I'm going to reheat this eye from the outside. Okay, now I'm going to give it a try. This may or may not work. I may need to just reheat the whole head again. But we will try. Got the eye lined up. I'm going to start pulling and pushing. Okay, there we go. Two eyes that line up that direction, and two eyes that line up that direction. Josefina is now a new creation with Kit's blue eyes. I hope this video helps you with success in your eye swaps.
When the storm clouds are blowing through, you'll know that you have no home in this world. When the darkness is bare.